Welcome back to the channel, everybody. You're watching The Real Freddy G. Today, I'm teaching you guys how to make steak 2 different ways. Alright everyone, so I've taken this outside today. It's a beautiful day out and I always like grilling outside. So as I said before, cooking these 2 steaks up today. We're going to do it in 2 different ways. One's for the sandwich and one's just on its own. I'm using today a cast iron pan. I feel it gives the best crust that you can possibly get from a steak, and it holds temperature really well. And that's the thing, when you're cooking a steak like this, you want to make sure that temperature stays even all the way through, because you put a big piece of steak inside and all of a sudden all the temperature leaves, you're kind of screwed because it's just going to end up boiling and not searing. And if you get a boiled steak, I promise you, you're not going to enjoy it. Okay, so as you guys can see here, the pan is now smoking hot. That's what we want. We want it as hot as you possibly get it, just so we can get that nice hard sear on these steaks. So I'm going to start off with the flank steak, and I'm just going to olive oil it all over. All right, make sure all the surface is covered. So I'm going to hit that with the flake salt down. And then we're going to go with the cracked black pepper. Trying to mind the sound of the city. We are living in a condo. Okay, and in we go. If your steak is not making that sound, take it out. Right? Again, goes back to the whole boiling thing. We don't want this steak boiling, we want it searing. So in the meantime, while this steak is searing off, I'm going to get on the ribeye here. So same preparation, right? Just going to make sure we get the olive oil all over it, and just again, salt and pepper. So that's what we're looking for. All that nice seasoning. See how it's gone all the way through, right? Nice even distribution, right? Okay, so this is basically ready now. I got it to an internal temperature of 130. We rested for half the time that it cooked for. So during that time, it's going to increase by maybe, 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's why I'm taking it off that 5 to 10 degrees before where I actually want it. And it should get to that point, right? So anyway, we're going to take this off now. A nice, beautiful crust. And that's your flank steak. Okay, so now that the flank steak's done, we got the pan back up to the heat that we want, ripping hot, and we're going with this ribeye. So, there we go. That's beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna give this a flip. That nice bubbling fat, that's what we want. And that's it. This steak is now done. So I'm gonna leave this to rest. Same idea as the flank steak. We're gonna go with one of the toppings now for the steak sandwich. I like to use shallots. You can use white onions or red onions. We're kind of making onion rings. So I didn't mention exactly why I'm using shallots as opposed to white onions or red onions. I find that shallots have a much milder flavor. Now we're gonna put in the buttermilk, and all I wanna do with this buttermilk is just make sure that the entire thing is covered. So that's enough, just so that it ends up, covering just the top of them. Okay, so now we're gonna make probably my favorite steak accompaniment sauce, and that's chimichurri. So my chimichurri consists of parsley, red chili, shallots, garlic, olive oil in a dishwashing container, and red wine vinegar, along with salt and pepper. Because the steaks are so fatty, you need something nice and sharp and vinegary to cut through all that fat, and this does the job perfectly. So I'm gonna get to it right now. So we're gonna start with the parsley here. I'm using about, half a bunch. I'm just gonna go with a rough chop. So that's what we're doing with that. Just put that over here in the bowl for now. And we're gonna get on our red chilies. So I'm gonna leave the seeds in for this chili because I find these ones don't have a super crazy blow your head off heat to them. They do have a really nice fruity taste to them. Obviously if you're more prone to the heat and it doesn't sit well with you, take the seeds out. We're gonna cut them nice and thin. So I'm gonna go with half the chili, I think, for this. And already the smell coming off of this is fantastic. I'm using 3 cloves, and like any recipe, use as much garlic as you want, right? But I'm gonna go with 3 on this one. I think I like garlic a lot, so that's it. That's all we're going with here. So there's your 3 cloves of garlic going in. And then again, the magical shallot. I'm going with half a shallot for this recipe. Nice and thin. So now we're gonna go in with some extra virgin olive oil. Now we're gonna go with the red wine vinegar. And this is what's giving us that acid that we so need out of this sauce. We're gonna go in with a couple pinches of salt, and a couple cracks of black pepper. Give that a good mix. So that's it. That's your chimichurri recipe. All right. So this is a Vaioli, and obviously because it's Vaioli, we're gonna go very heavy on these chives. The reason I use chives, they got a really nice floral, oniony flavor to them without all that harshness. So same sort of idea of why I use shallots. I'm also using this right now, and it's also got that nice herby flavor to it. All right, so you can see right there, just like that, right? And we're using about, I don't know, 15 to 20 chives. So this is what we're looking for. All these lovely little rings here, all right? We'll put these chives in here. I use a little bit of garlic powder. You can use raw garlic, right? When I'm doing sauces like this, I like using the powder just because it gets through the entire sauce a lot easier. Going with about a teaspoon of that. We're going with about a couple pinches of salt. And then for this, I like to use really coarse black pepper. As we're going through, that sauce coming through, you're getting those little bites of black pepper, and it's just wicked. So I'm gonna go with a few cracks of that in here. Roughly about a teaspoon and a half. And then all that's left to do is give it a good old mix. What we're gonna do, just give this a little taste, make sure all the seasoning's there. And yeah, see, that's really nice. After that. My shallots have been sitting in the fridge for about half an hour. Okay, so I'm using vegetable oil here, and I've got the temperature up now to 350 degrees. So, trick to frying, especially when you got something wet and something dry like this, you gotta separate your hands or you're gonna end up having clump fingers. We don't want that. So, I'm gonna start with my wet hand here, get some of these shallots, sprinkle it into the flour. See how it's already started to coat? That's what we want. Make sure we get all the excess flour off. Right in the frying oil. So, these are all done now. See how they got all nice and craggly and golden. I'm gonna take these off, put them over here on the paper towel. Make sure to separate them so they dry out evenly and we don't get any steamy, soggy bits. So it's the moment of truth. We've rested the steak now. Let's just see right down the middle where we're looking. I mean, that's pretty gorgeous right there. All that nice, look at that. I'm gonna cut this now, nice and thin. I don't wanna have too thick cuts in this sandwich, because what ends up happening, I don't know if you guys have had this before, you bite into a sandwich like this, and then all of a sudden, half the sandwich is coming out after one bite, and it's not exactly as enjoyable when all the toppings are out on the first go. This is gorgeous. And see what I was talking about, that edge to edge? That's from the resting. And see this now, look, it's a little bit of a pull, gone. All right, no knife needed. Got a toasted ciabatta bun. So let's start actually topping this. We're gonna go with the Vaioli on the bottom. Then we're gonna go with goat cheese on the top. Now let's get the fried onions. Make sure we get full coverage. Now with the steak, I'm just gonna tear it up in my hands. I'm gonna lay it out so it covers the entire bottom. I'm gonna build this relatively tall, because this is a steak sandwich after all. It's not a fried onion sandwich, it's not a cheese sandwich. It's a steak sandwich, so you gotta make it that way. So we're gonna just give a little touch of salt on top. A couple cracks of black pepper. we're going to give this king its crown. And that right there is the best steak sandwich you'll ever have. I promise you. Okay, so we have the ribeye here. So we have the spinalis here on the outside, and then the actual ribeye here in the middle. So all we're gonna do is just follow the cuts and see how it just naturally wants to pull itself away. So we have that one right there. You take this part here is what was connected to the bone. And then right up here is a bit of a fat cap. So we'll start out with the ribeye. Nice medium on that, which is exactly what we wanted. Now we'll go with the spinalis here. Lay that just on the side there. I'll take that bone meat here. Chimichurri. We want to get that all over the steak. And then for those that are brave enough, we'll also put that little fat nugget in there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, we're finally at the point we've all been waiting for. Well, I know I have at least. Let's get into it and see how this actually tastes. So I'm gonna start with the steak here, with the ribeye steak. I'm gonna go to the outside here with the spinalis because that's my favorite part of this. Amazing. That wicked vinegary chimichurri, all that fat that's in that steak, it's just kind of gliding through because that vinegar just cuts through everything and it doesn't allow it to, you know, be cloying or sit in the roof of your mouth. It just melds really well together. Okay, I can't get filled up on that. I gotta go to this. I love this sandwich. It is fairly simple, but it just packs a wicked punch. So let's give her a go. Remember that whole thing I was telling you about not cutting it? Or rather, cut it so it doesn't all fly on the first bite? Well, it happened anyway. Besides that, that sandwich is wicked. You know, that flank steak, nice and juicy, super moist, and then with the fat from the mayo and the fried onions, everything just kind of worked together really well to make a wicked sandwich at the very end. I'm really happy with both of these preparations. I would try any of these any day of the week. You know, treat yourself to a steak like this, celebrate once in a while. Anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video today. This has been a lot of fun for me. This is one of my favorite things to make, is steak. And you know what, honestly, this chimichurri sauce, you'll see it again in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you guys did, please like and subscribe so you guys don't miss out on any future videos. And until next time, dinner is Freddy. See ya.